Bloodlines is, much like its tabletop counterpart, a problem-solving game, persuasion, stealth, or simply kicking the door open. The player is given a task and also the freedom to tackle it in whatever way they can. And the game wastes no time in making that clear with its very first major mission, Surf's Up. The Princess Agent, Mercurial, failed to obtain the explosives necessary for the player's assignment.
Those cocksuckers beat me rotten, left me for a stiff shit. They got the money, they got the astrolite.
And now it falls on them to retrieve it from a local illegal chemist. Surely a great opportunity to put Jack's lesson to the test.
You do what you gotta do. Theft, destruction of property, breaking and entering. These will be the least of your sins before the night's out.
So, here's every possible way the player can get the astrolite in Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines, and the unique benefits of each method. Do keep in mind this guide refers to version 11.5 of the unofficial patch. The first method is arguably the cleanest and also most difficult one, stealth. Break in, get the astrolite, and sneak out. It is fairly easy to stay out of sight due to the house's layout, but still I recommend having your sneaking feat at level 2 at least. Remember that you can always use a blood buff to temporarily boost your physical attributes, and thus your sneaking feat as needed. Also, while not necessary, having access to Obfuscate can make this method much easier. Start by hiding behind this red van to avoid being seen by the lookout, and sneak towards your left, where you will find a spot on the fence with a loose plank. Simply interact with the plank to break it loose and sneak in. If your inspection feat is high enough, the game will highlight the loose plank, making it quite easy to spot. Getting inside the house right now would be suicide since all lights are on and there is no way to enter undetected, so you should sneak around the house instead and make your way to the back. Behind the house you will find a power switch. Interact with it to turn off all the lights in the house. This will prompt one of the gang members to be sent outside to turn the power back on, after some convincing.
Fix the lights, damn it!
You turn on the power, bitch!
Fix the lights, get the lights or I'll shove that control up your ass!
Alright, man!
You can hide behind this debris to avoid being seen by the approaching enemy. At this point you can choose to either kill this enemy to prevent them from turning the power back on, or to simply distract them with a discipline. Any of the non-lethal distracting disciplines will work. Dementation, Dominance, or even Night Wisp Ravens from Animalism, so long as you use it before he can interact with the light switch. Now, in total darkness, sneak in through the front door. The living room is empty, but there are criminals in the kitchen, so sneaking past through the bathroom is the best option. As you do so, their leader, Dennis, will be prompted to come towards the kitchen. Having Auspex here is useful to tell when it's safe to open the door and proceed, though not necessary. On your way to the next room, you can find Mercurial's money inside of a vent to your right. Once again, if your inspection feat is high enough, it will be highlighted for you. Once you're past Dennis, the hard part is over. Grab the astrolite and sneak out the same way you came in. Something to keep in mind is that, by following this method, you won't get any extra valuables to sell. Namely, there is a car stereo in the kitchen, which you can't safely grab unless you have Obfuscate at a high level, which is unlikely at this stage of the game. Also, you're not getting any enemy drops since you're not killing anyone. Alright, now to method number 2, which is Persuasion. This one is, thankfully, pretty straightforward. You just talk your way into the house.
Okay, you can go on in.
And convince Dennis to give you the explosives.
You sure you're good for it? Because all it means to me if you're not is a little late-night shark fishing trip with the boys, if you understand what I'm saying.
You can convince the lookout, Brian, to let you into the house with level 3 Persuasion. But you're going to need level 4 to persuade Dennis to give you the astrolite. Also, be mindful of your dialogue choices. Don't mention the Astrolite right away, or he might get suspicious. Keep in mind that doing this involves telling Dennis that you will pay him later, which might have different repercussions depending on whether or not you keep Mercurio alive in your playthrough. If you do keep him alive, Mercurio will handle Dennis and his group later.
Oh, by the way, I paid a visit to our friends on the cliff up there early this morning. ODing's a painful way to go, especially when your kneecaps are on the floor next to you. What can I say? Payback can be a bitch like that.
But supposedly, if you kill Mercurio and keep Dennis alive, he and his thugs might ambush you later as you make your way to the Elizabeth Dane. I, however, couldn't get that to happen in my game. This might be something that changes depending on what mod or version of the unofficial patch you're playing, so it's probably still worth keeping in mind. You could also just buy the Astrolite from him for $500, or even haggle the price down to $300 if your haggle feat is high enough. But honestly, that's a waste of money. Just get your persuasion to level 4 instead. A cool little bonus of this method is, you get to check what game these guys are playing in the living room. It seems to be some sort of Quaging combat. I'm told in older versions of the unofficial patch, there used to be some Bloodlines alpha footage here. Oh, and once again, you can't take the car stereo in the kitchen since that would immediately turn everyone hostile. So no looting. However, you can and should take Mercurio's money from the vent when nobody's looking. Method number 3 is a slight variation to number 2, and that is seduction. This is slightly easier than persuasion since you only need level 3 seduction to both get inside the house
I tell you what, I'll let you in.
and convince Dennis to give you the Astrolite.
I'd be open to negotiations.
It also has the added bonus of letting you feed on Dennis. Just exactly how useful that is debatable since blood is not exactly that difficult to come by, especially if you're playing a high seduction character. Other than that, this method has all the traits of the persuasion path, including possible future repercussions, so keep that in mind. And finally, the most direct approach, combat. Get inside the house, guns blazing or fist swinging, and retrieve the Astrolite and the money by force. Which is surprisingly not that difficult, so long as you have a character properly spec'd into it. In the footage you see, my gangrel fledgling finished this mission with both his health and blood pool completely full. Just make sure you alternate between attacking and feeding on enemies. It makes no difference whether you provoke Dennis by mentioning Mercurio, or simply attack the lookout and start combat immediately. Funnily enough, you can accidentally get into combat by trying to intimidate Dennis. If your intimidation feat is at least level 3, the game will show you green text, but the skill check won't work and you will initiate combat instead. So be mindful of that if you're trying to solve things peacefully. As mentioned a few times already, the benefit of fighting your way in is that you gain access to all valuables inside the beach house, those being the car stereo and all items dropped by enemies, making this method quite profitable. Speaking of profit, you can choose to keep Mercurio's money for yourself, but if you return it to him, you will actually get 1 extra experience point.
Oh, you're a lifesaver. I might have to buy some new kidneys with this.
There's a finite amount of XP you can get in one playthrough. Money, on the other hand, is really not that hard to come by. So unless you're roleplaying, I recommend giving him his money back. And these are all the different ways you can complete Surf's Up. There are slight variations, of course. While not covered here, characters with access to the Dominate or Presence disciplines do gain access to extra dialogue options. But as far as skill checks go, these are the 4 major methods. If you enjoyed this video, why not show us your support by giving us a like and a comment? Perhaps you could suggest what mission we should cover next. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for our next deep dive into classic RPGs. But until then, my name is Jeff, this is But Words Remain, and I'll see you next time.